It's important to establish before getting into any sort of discussion with Indra or Ashura, which form of Indra and Ashura you're talking about, since the way I understand it, in the anime, Indra and Ashura in their little filler arc sort of get chalked up to just Naruto and Sasuke clones, when in the original manga, they were sort of intended to be more than that, at least even by Obito's original story and then also by Hagaromo. They do share some similarities, obviously, since they are the original Naruto and Sasuke, or Hashirama and Madara. But even the difference between Hashirama and Naruto, or Madara and Sasuke, should let you know that these guys are not just carbon copies of Naruto and Sasuke just from 1,000 years in the past. Indra has Sasuke's Mangekyo pattern, which isn't true to the manga, and Ashura is using the Rasengan, which to our knowledge was not created until maybe up to 1,000 years later, whenever Minato originally did it. So I'm going to be sticking mainly to the manga with this video in specific, and maybe I'll bring up some data books or guide statements later, but those data books and whatnot are not really too important at discussing this topic of just how strong Indra was. Now obviously, since Indra only fights Ashura, it's natural that we need to get a general idea of how strong Asura was as well, which I'll be going over in the video. But before that, if you could, since this took a lot, Indra and Asura are only in the manga for like realistically 2 chapters, but there's a lot of information on them in those 2 chapters. Took a lot. I appreciate, a subscription or a like on the video. But yeah, we can just get started. Indra and Asura were born in what Hagaromo describes the most extreme difference between no talent and talent. That means, in Indra's the side of talent, obviously. That means that the difference between Naruto and Sasuke and how talented Sasuke was compared to how much of a dunce Naruto was, even with Kurama like nerfing Naruto's chakra control, Indra had a way bigger lead on Ashura than Sasuke did on Naruto. And then Hagaromo sort of implies in this sentence, like unironically implies, that Indra might have had like all the talent. Like Indra could have just kept going up infinitely or something like that. He talks about how the Indra was special. He recognized he was special and different. So because he was different, he just went off on his own, blah, 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 blah. Similar to Sasuke, but a lot different because he could actually be on his own. Sasuke more walked a darker path and sided with people than just being truly alone. At least up until when he got his Mangekyo and he started, killing off his teammates and whatnot. But still, Indra was more like that from the beginning. It's not really implied that Indra was like a homicidal maniac the same way Sasuke was. It's more so just implied that he just wanted to be alone and just was alone. Now, we do know that at some point in his life, Indra awakened the Mangekyo. I think in the anime, they make it seem like he killed one of his best friends or something like that. I think there's a different implication in the manga, but I'll go over that a little bit later. Now, Ashura, on the other hand, he was just weak like Naruto. And then Hagaromo says to catch up to Indra, he basically had to team up with tons of people. So like Ashura's team, whatever you want to call it, Team Ashura, was the same power as just Indra on his own. And then through training, Ashura eventually became as strong as Indra, even before Hagaromo ended up giving him his power. Now, when Hagaromo did give Ashura his power, we do know, or at least is heavily implied by what we see on this one manga panel, that Ashura had awakened Sixpaths Sage Mode. Now, the data books don't list Ashura as a user of Sixpaths Sage Mode. The only user of Sixpaths Sage Mode listed is Naruto, but we see Ashura with True Seeker orbs, which we know are attributed to either Sixpaths Sage Mode or being a Jubi Jinchuriki. Ashura being a Jubi Jinchuriki is extremely unlikely, especially considering the fact that we see him inside of this like 3-headed avatar and he looks just the same way as he does normally. And then on top of that, this avatar more so resembles Kurama, like a little Kurama avatar, rather than, a Jubi or something like that. and Jubi Jinchuriki have never been shown to ever manifest some type of weird Kurama avatar. Madara never showed it. Obito never showed it. Kaguya definitely never showed it. She more turned into like a rabbit or something like that. So I'm not going to say that Indra was a Jubi Jinchuriki, but him having Sixpaths Sage mode is definitely not out of the question. Now, I did mention how Asura maybe had a little Kurama avatar, and I do think that even if he wasn't a Nine Tails Jinchuriki, I think that maybe Asura siphoned some of Kurama's power to fight Indra. Because this avatar, like, just look at it side by side, it looks almost identical to the Kurama avatar, but maybe since Kurama was a baby at the time, it's just resembling baby Kurama instead of adult Kurama like the one Naruto has. I'm not gonna make the claim that it is adult Kurama or baby Kurama, sorry, but I'm just saying it looks extremely similar, and he's supposed to be like Naruto _1, so maybe it is, I don't know. Now, unless you think this panel is a perspective shot, Indra's Susanoo is gigantic because it dwarfs Ashura's little three-headed avatar. Ashura's three-headed avatar in this panel is only as big as the head of Indra's Susanoo, which would get me into when I think Indra eventually awakened his Mangekyo. So the way Indra's Mangekyo looks in the manga is sort of like this swirly pattern or whatever. We get to see it whenever Obito first talks about them. So the way I think he awakened his Mangekyo in the manga is probably a feeling of betrayal after Hagaromo gave all of his power to Asura. And then he just awakened his Mangekyo, and then they started fighting. Because otherwise, Indra shouldn't have been able to match Asura at all in this fight whatsoever, because Asura got as strong as Indra, and then on top of that got Hagaromo's power. And then with getting Hagaromo's power, allegedly and probably got Sixpaths Sage mode. So there's no way that just Indra could keep up with Asura after getting all those amps if they were truly equal before. Now you could say, oh, Hagaromo was just capping. When he says rivaled Indra, he just meant like a little bit, like Asura was 51% Indra's power, but he could still fight with him a little bit because of abilities or something like that. However, that's not really implied anywhere in the text. I couldn't find any implications of that. So I'm not going to go with that interpretation. I'm just going to go with the fact that I think Indra, after Asura got Hagaromo's power, and we know that he was not happy about that decision literally created all the reincarnates and basically wrote the story. We know he's not happy with that decision. That's when he awakened his Mangekyo, and at that point he was able to match Asura a little bit. From what we know about the Asura and Indra reincarnates, we know that the Asura one normally wins, so I wouldn't put stock into Indra beating Asura there. Just more so he was able to like fight with him, and then Asura ended up just beating him the same way the other ones went. Like we saw with Madara and Hashirama. Hashirama was fighting with Madara, then just ended up beating him. Naruto was fighting with Sasuke, just ended up beating him, ending the cycle of hatred. So I think it's far more probable that Indra and Asura were just fighting, and then Asura ended up taking Indra out, just eventually somewhere during the fight, whatever. Now, to talk about where Indra more than likely caps at, we do get like a direct statement from Hagaromo that I think anyway really implies where Indra caps at. Now, what he does say implies Indra was weaker than one-eyed Jubi Madara. However, there's another interpretation of said statement, but I'll go over both of them. I do think that by the time I'm done going over both, you'll agree with me that he's probably just weaker than Madara. So what Hagaromo says is that Madara now, after becoming the Jubi Jinchuriki, is no longer Indra's reincarnate, and he is trying to attain power close to Hagaromo and then eventually get up to Kaguya's level. And we know that that's true. We know that Madara is eventually trying to do what Kaguya did or whatever. So the way Hagaromo words it there with, you know, he's not Indra's reincarnate because he's trying to get power like me or power like Kaguya, it implies that one-eyed Madara now is stronger than wherever Indra capped at in the past. Now, the alternate interpretation of this would be just saying that he's no longer Indra's reincarnate because two Indra reincarnates cannot exist at the same time, or Indra's chakra, soul, whatever, can't possess two bodies at the same time. And Sasuke, at this point we're talking about, is currently still alive, and he was alive and fought alive Madara with Sage Mode. So he could be talking about that, or maybe even giving the implication that the Ten Tails is a stronger possession type than Indra's chakra. So maybe the Ten Tails is also stronger than Indra in that way. I just think it's far more likely with the way that Hagaromo was describing things, that he is just telling you that Indra was not as strong as Jubi Madara or as strong as Hagaromo, and just that, you know, that's sort of where he caps out at. Indra being weaker than Madara is not really an issue, because like the only people we know can get up to Madara's level at this point is Hagaromo. Hagaromo says himself he's a little bit stronger than one-eyed Madara pre-God Tree. And then we know Naruto and Sasuke, after talking to Hagaromo, can eventually overpower Madara. Now, the implication there would sort of lead you to believe that, without explanation anyway, Hagaromo is lying about being close in power to Madara. But people forget that after Hagaromo gives Naruto and Sasuke his chakra, he gives them ways to amp that chakra, or at least he gives Naruto a way to amp that chakra. He gave Naruto his chakra, and then Naruto got Sixpaths Sage Mode on top of the chakra that Hagaromo gave him, right? So it's like Naruto got Hagaromo's chakra, say it's half, and then he got Sage Mode, which Sixpaths Sage Mode, let's say bare minimum 10 times amp because of the curse mark. So it's more like Naruto became like 5 times Hagaromo, which is why he was able to overpower Jubi Madara so easily in just basic Sixpaths Sage Mode. And then Sasuke, after getting Hagaromo's chakra, he not only got Hashirama cells injected directly into him by Kabuto, he got Hashirama's chakra directly handed to him by Hashirama. Sasuke's awakening of the Rinnegan, it might not have even been due to Hagaromo's influence, because we do know Madara also put Hashirama cells in his body, or he put Hashirama cells on his body, whatever. And then eventually it came to be a Rinnegan. At first, nothing happened. Same with Sasuke. At first, when Hashirama gave Sasuke chakra, nothing happened. But whenever he got close to death, the Rinnegan awakened. That's what Madara says. And then it's the same thing with Sasuke. Whenever Sasuke was close to death, we know this. Whenever Sasuke is close to death, his Rinnegan awakened. We also know that them awakening had nothing to do with the power Hagaromo gave them, because Hagaromo tells Naruto he can't do anything about the fact that he's in like this near death state. That's completely up to the people outside who can revive him. So the same would be true for Sasuke. So Hagaromo didn't revive either of them. He just gave them power, and then, you know, their friends happened to revive them before that. So that's probably how they both got their powers. And it's not really a contradiction that Hagaromo says, oh, I'm near Jubi Madara's power, and then giving Naruto and Sasuke power, they can kind of just overpower him. So in a bit of a conclusion, Indra is probably stronger than all the versions of Hashirama and Madara we saw up to Jubi Madara, and he's likely stronger than all the versions of Naruto and Sasuke before they obtain their Sixpaths power. I don't think that Indra is as strong as, say, Hagaromo at almost any point, except maybe after Hagaromo split all of the Biju and then eventually died. But I wouldn't see any implication that Indra could get anything over that. He's definitely like an Akatsuki soloer, man. He can beat the Sannin type guy. Like, he's that level of power, which isn't even unreasonable if you really think about it. Like, he's supposed to be more talented than Sasuke and then more powerful than any version of Madara pre-Ten Tails. So I mean, it's not really too outlandish to assume or to think that Indra is just that guy, right? Like, he was the original that guy. He started the Uchiha clan, and all that. So just to, wrap this up, that's probably where Indra caps at. I kind of want to do another video on, like, maybe if Indra and Ashura will reincarnate again, because we know they reincarnated due to just like eternal conflict, and then that resulted or ended with Naruto and Sasuke. So then, like, going forward, will the Naruto and Sasuke reincarnations be a thing, or will it be Indra and Ashura again? I don't know. I think it's a pretty interesting discussion, and I might do a video on it in the future. But yeah, other than that, have a nice day.